Welcome back, and are we ready? Because I hope you are. We are going to be drawing the first segment of our Sunburst chart. Using our prepared data source, we are going to draw the first segment of our Sunburst chart so that we can have a basic understanding of the mechanics. The first draft, I'm a big advocate of just getting in, getting down, getting dirty, and just trying, because you will very quickly see if the data you prepare is fit for purpose or if your math is up to scratch. I know some people will sit on a bed all day long with a book and start sketching. I want us to just go for it. Sketch a little, try a little, sketch a little, try, because that iterative method will serve you better in the long term. So let's just get straight into it. After our last lesson, we had loaded our data source into Tableau and we are ready to go. So as per our previous exercises, we are going to get straight into data densification. So right click on path, go to create, go to bin, and set this to 1. I want us to create a index calculation. Let's just call it index, with the formula of index minus 1. Click OK. As we are drawing circles, let's draw circles. So let's create our X and Y axis. So create, call this X. Let's put sine, radians, index. As you can probably see, this is becoming more and more familiar to you now. Create calculation, Y. We are going to use cos, radians for conversion, and index. Wonderful. And straight away, let's just plot this. But before we do that, I want to take level into filters, take all values, and I just want 1. Essentially, I want the first level because we want the first segment. So with it filtered to level 1, the first ring, let's bring X into columns, Y into rows. Let's turn this into circles. Let's drag path bin onto detail. And now let's set the compute using for X and Y to be path bin. We've done this many times now. We've drawn a circle. I now want us to take label and drop that onto color. As you can see, because we filtered on level 1, our continents are showing. So this is good. We now have a full circle. However, what we want to do is draw down the inside. We then want to flip it backwards so that we actually have a wedge shape. So to do that, we are going to modify our X and Y axis as follows. Let's edit X. We are going to have an if condition. As we know, we have 360 points. So therefore, if index is less than 181, then leave it as it is. Do not change. Keep on drawing the inside line. Else, same formula, radians, index. However, I'm going to multiply this by 2. So essentially for the first 180, it's going to be 1 value away from the center. After 180, it's going to be 2 away. You'll see what we're doing in a moment. Let's click apply and OK. We're going to apply the same to the Y object. So what are we going to write? If index is less than 181, then leave it as it is. Else, cos, radian, index, multiply by 2, and end. Let's see what this looks like. There we go. As you can see, what we've done here is that we've built 2 layers or 2 lines, the inside line and the outside line. All we have to do now is flip this outside line backwards, and then we will have our complete shape. So we have from 1 all the way down to 180, and what we need from 182 is to flow the opposite direction to give us our shape, which is easily done. We're going to modify the X object, and all I'm going to do is put a bracket here and 3, 6, 1 minus. So as the index grows larger, the actual number that goes into the radians, goes into the sign, decreases, so it reverses that number. Let's click apply. Wow, and there we have it. I'm also going to apply the same to Y. So let's put a bracket around. And 3, 6, 1 minus. This is starting to look like it's getting there. What I want to do now is I'm going to turn this to polygon. Like I said, Tableau art, love it. I'm going to take path and drag it onto the path mark type. And as you can see, we have our segments now. Although they're all the same size, but another problem is that they are only half a circle. What we want is for each of the segments in each ring to be 100%, and then we can reduce it, like what we did with the radial bar chart, reduce it based on the percentage value. So we're going to go back into the X object, and what we are going to do is multiply by 2. So if we multiply this by 2, let's see what we get. This is what I'm talking about, more Tableau art, but do not fret. Let's edit the Y object. Be careful with your brackets, make sure you're very careful. We don't want to multiply index, we will make sure the number is subtracted first. We're going to multiply by 2 here. And as you can see, we now have a full circle. Let's change the border color to white, and hopefully that will give us yes. So we can see that now we have the full circle. And we know what we need to do next. We need to take the value and we need to shrink the index based on it. So how do we do this? Firstly, we need to do a Windows max on the value. So let's create a calculated field. Let's call this TC value. Let's take a Windows max. Take the max of the value. This is so that we can see the value during the identification. Apply. Okay, beautiful. And we're so close I could taste it. All we're going to do now is right click on X. We are going to include this. So 2 times index times TC value. I'm just going to add this after there. Beautiful. So you're taking 361, you're minusing the index. That gives you reverse. You're increasing the size by 2 because you've taken 360, you've divided it by 2 to get your shape. So you're maximizing it again to make sure it's a full circle. You'll then multiply it by TC values to shrink based on the percentage value in the data set. And as expected, the data has totally disappeared, but that's okay. We are going to edit Y for the same purpose. Multiply by TC value, both sides of the equation. Now what we're going to do is start off by right clicking on X, going to compute using, selecting path bin, and doing the same with Y. You should now have a beautiful shape, and you should be ready to go. As you can see, we've built our first segments now. Europe is making up this chunk, and if you could visualize it, North America and Asian Pacific, once added together, should make the rest. But what I want us to do is review. Let's change this back to circle. As you can see, we have different segments. But let's take Europe. As you can see, the path starts at 1 and we keep on going all the way to 180, at which point we multiply the distance by 2, as you can see here, and then we reverse the direction all the way back. This way, when we draw a polygon, we can put path bin onto the path mark and create a whole shape. Because 360 degrees would have made a whole circle, but we had to bend half of it backwards, we needed to multiply by 2 in order to get to a full circle again. So once we had a full circle, we multiply by the value itself, which in the data is a percentage, and that shrunk our segment. And there we have it. Let's get back to our polygon. And with this said and done, we've built our first Sunburst segments. How cool is that? So, using our prepared data source, we have built our first segments now of our Sunburst. And hopefully you'll have an understanding of the mechanics. And given that you've progressed through the course this far, a lot of this should be second nature to you now. However, the next step, we are going to position our segments around to complete our first ring. So, with that said and done, see you in the next class.